Now one day when Moses was shepherding the flock of his father-in-law's, Jethro's, the priest of Midian, he guided the flock far away from its usual pastures to the other side of the desert and came to a place known as Horeb, where the mountain of the God stood. There, a special messenger of the Eternal approached Moses in a fiery blaze from within the bush. Moses looked again at the bush as it blazed, but to his amazement the bush did not burn up in flames. Why is this burning? Why is this bush not burning? Moses thought to himself. I need to move a little closer to get a better look at this amazing sight. When the Eternal One saw Moses approaching to the burning bush, to observe it more closely, he looked out. He looked out to him from within the bush. Moses, Moses, I'm right here. Don't come any closer. Take off your sandals and stand barefoot on the ground in my presence. For this ground is a holy ground, and I am the true God, the God of your father, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. A feeling of dread and awe rushed over Moses. He hid his face because he was afraid he might catch a glimpse of the true God. I have seen how my people in Egypt are being mistreated. I have heard their groaning, and when the slave drivers torment and harass them. For I know the well of their suffering. I have come to rescue them from the oppression of the Egyptians, to lead them from that land where they are enslaved, and give them good land, a wide, open space flowing milk and honey.
And continuing on in Exodus chapter 17, starting in verse 1. The entire community of Israel traveled in stages out of the desert of Sin, just as the Eternal instructed. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water there to quench their thirst. Once again, the people complained to Moses, "Give us water to drink. We're thirsty." "Why do you aim your complaints at me? Why are you testing the Eternal One?" But the people were so thirsty for water, they complained to Moses and leveled accusations against him. "Why did you lead us out of Egypt? Was it to kill all of us, our children and livestock included, with this thirst?" Moses had had enough of their complaints, so he cried out to the Eternal One, "What am I supposed to do with these people and their relentless complaining? They're on the verge of stoning me." And God said to Moses, "Here's what I want you to do. Go on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Also, be sure to bring your shepherd's staff, the one with which you struck the Nile. I will be there when you arrive standing at the rock of Horeb. I want you to strike the rock with your staff, and when you do, water will flow out of it so that everyone will have enough to drink." The elders of Israel accompanied Moses and watched as he did what the Eternal directed. Moses named the place Massah Meribah, because the Israelites complained and tested the Eternal, saying, "Is he standing with us or not?" This is the word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
Jacob. I am. I have seen the misery of my people. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring them out of Egypt. I will be with you. With your power, I will set my people free.
I love getting packages. I'm one of those guys that gets really excited. You might know that. I get excited by mail. I'm kind of like the dog waiting for the mailman to come to the door. When I know I've got a package coming, I wait with eager anticipation. I can't wait for it to get here. And I can't wait, you know, and I circle around, I'm constantly checking the front door, making sure that they drop it off, I check with my secretary, did they bring anything? No, leave me alone. No, okay, all right, so I'll just wait, I'll wait, and it'll be okay. So, I love the process of mail. Again, I know, it's kind of silly to some people to get this excited about mail, about packages and deliveries, but I get that way. I love the process. It amazes me that you can have you know, something ordered from Hong Kong, and it can be here in 4 to 7 weeks, or if you pay $50, it can be here in 2 days. You would think there would be this is how long it takes to get there, but no, everything moves faster with money. So I love the process. My favorite shipping company, which everybody should have, a favorite shipping company. My favorite shipping company is UPS. Everybody say UPS.
Yes.
Yeah, I love UPS, not a big fan of FedEx. But FedEx, they're kind of slow. But UPS, they seem to always be on time, and they dress really nicely. UPS guys, they posted this statistic on their website that every single day they handle somewhere around the area of 16.3 million documents and packages. Every day, 16.3 million documents and packages. That is a crazy amount of mail. So I have this delivery coming and I'm really excited about it. I ordered it early part of last week or so, and I rushed it so that it could be here a little sooner, and I'm hoping that it gets here quickly, but last time that I checked, it was still in transit. So it got lost somewhere on the way, but I'm hoping that it gets here before day because it's a package of Bibles for my confirmation, faith and formation class this afternoon, so I'm really hoping that it gets here soon. Today we're going to be in the book of Exodus. Everybody say Exodus.
Exodus.
Which means we are not in the book of Genesis, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. So last week, how many people are reading the story? Anybody reading the story? Okay, good. Today we're going to talk about chapter 4. So if you brought your copy, that's great. If you need a copy, we still have one more open there. If that one's gone by the end of the service, we can get one. Okay? So be sure that you have a copy of the story. Now, we are going to be in the book of Exodus, or chapter 4 of the story. They're the same sort of story. It's just arranged a little differently. And we are talking about somebody new, a new character. Now, last time that we left, and then we circled back and covered some more, and then we left again. We were talking about a man by the name of Joseph. Everybody say Joseph. Joseph. Now Joseph had a rough life, but God was with him, and he was elevated to a position of power to be able to look after God's nation that he was building, right? Everybody nod. Yeah. And Joseph ended up in Egypt. Everybody say Egypt? Egypt. Egypt. Now Egypt, as you know from some of our conversations earlier, was kind of like the Las Vegas of the ancient world. Anything that you wanted, anything that you wanted to do, anything that you could possibly imagine could be done and found in Egypt. Now, God had rescued Joseph from slavery, from prison, from wrongful accusations, and he rescued his family and all of his people, the people of God, the Israelite nation, from starvation. Now, when Joseph moved his family to Egypt and fed them and gave them proper land and everything, there were only 70 of them. Say 70? 70. Now, that's not bad. That's about how many people we have here today. Okay, so everybody look around. All right. This is Joseph's family. Okay? I know. Now, when they moved to Egypt, there were about 70. But then we pick up in the book of Exodus, and things have changed. Fast forward about 430 years. 430 years. And now the people of God, the people of Israel, Joseph's family, number somewhere around 3 million people. Everybody say 3 million people.
3 million people.
Somebody would like 3 million.
I do.
So if you took all the people in Mazan and multiplied that by about 100, 1,000, or somebody who's better at math. I just do words. I talk for a living. Yeah, multiply that by a bunch, and you have his family. It's a large number of people. Remember the promise that God made to Abraham, right? When he told Abraham to go, leave his father's household, in Genesis, he said, I will make you a great nation, I will give you this land, and you will be a blessing. Well, Abraham had one kid, his son Isaac had 2, and Jacob, Isaac's son, had 12, 11 boys, 1 girl. Now, that's a big family, but it's really not a nation, right? However, fast forward 430 years, 3 million people, that begins to look more like a nation. Now, here's the thing, and I know I'm giving you a lot of background information, but this is a new book, a new day, and I'm just feeling frisky. So here we go. The people are excited. The people, came from all this terrible stuff. They heard about all that happened with Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and how God, we talked to them and all this stuff. But there's been about 400 years of silence. And so people begin to forget. They forget what God has done. And not only that, but the Egyptians, who were once very friendly to Joseph and his family, begin to forget what Joseph and Joseph's God have done. And so a new king comes to power, and he takes over and he looks around and he sees these 3 million immigrants. These people who aren't Egyptians by ethnicity, by origin, these people who are just living on their land, in the best part of their land, taking their jobs, taking their money, taking their food, taking up space. He sees these people as a threat, and he begins to lay down laws and policies to try and dictate and control these people. Suddenly, this story from a couple thousand years BC sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it?
Yeah, we're down.
Millions of immigrants just waiting.
Down.
And so in Exodus chapter 1, starting with verse 11, so if you have the Bible, I encourage you to turn to Exodus chapter 1, starting with verse 11. It goes like this. So they, the Egyptians, put slave masters over them, the Israelite people, to oppress them with forced labor. And they built Pithom and Ramses as store cities for Pharaoh. But the more that they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly. They made their lives bitter with harsh labor, in brick and mortar, and with all kinds of work in the fields. And all their harsh labor, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. Now you guys are good Bible study students, and just because I can, I highlighted it for you. If you notice there is repetition, it means pay attention. Right? Because there's something important here. The Egyptians came to dread the Israelites and worked them ruthlessly, made their lives bitter with harsh labor. In all their harsh labor, the Egyptians worked them ruthlessly. It means it was bad. Okay? The relationship was not friendly anymore. One nation, the Egyptians, was lording over the Israelites, trying to control them, trying to keep them down. But the more that they were oppressed, the more they multiplied and spread. The more laws they laid down, it seemed like the more they multiplied, the more of them there were. The more they tried to control them, the less control they had. It seems like there was some overwhelming universal force working against the Egyptians. Perhaps some sort of God working in a grander narrative, some sort of bird's eye view, another story, if you will, who's going to accomplish his will for this nation. And so the king of Egypt said to the Egyptian midwives, or the Hebrew midwives, excuse me, whose names were Shiphrah and Puah. Be sure to name your grandkids that. When you are helping the Hebrew women during childbirth on the delivery stool, that's right, no NICU, it's a stool. That's what you get. If you see that the baby is a boy, kill him. But if it's a girl, let her live. Now, this was important because it's not about population control so much as about rebellion control. Right? We don't want any more men, no more boys, no more strapping warriors. We'll just, if it's a girl, she's okay. Right? But if it's a boy, kill him. The midwives, however, feared God and did not do what the king of Egypt had told them to do. They let the boys live. Now this is a big deal. I know we read it and go, oh, okay, well, yeah, it's a big deal. The king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, was worshipped as a god. He was considered divine. He had that power, that authority. And yet these Hebrew women said, no, Pharaoh, you seem to be average. You're just a man. We're going to fear the amazing God. So they let the boys live. And then the king of Egypt summons the midwives and asks them, why have you done this? Why have you let the boys live? Explain yourselves. And I love this. The midwives answered Pharaoh, Hebrew women are not like Egyptian women. They are vigorous and give birth before the midwives arrive. The baby's coming. Okay, I'll be right there. What? It's incredible. And that word vigorous, the Hebrew wives are vigorous. They give birth really quickly. That word vigorous is the Hebrew word chayah. Did you hear it? Literally, the Hebrew wives are chayah. And they get it done, and then the baby's out. Everybody say chayah. Now say it like a bad kung fu movie. Chayah. Yeah. So God was kind to the midwives, and the people in Greece became even more numerous. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families of their own. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every Hebrew boy that is born, you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. And it's in the midst of this culture, in the midst of this severed relationship, that we're introduced to a character named Moses. Everybody say Moses. Moses. We'll be with Moses for a little while, not too long though. Moses is an interesting story. His mom had to follow this law. She tried to hide him for 3 months, but it's kind of hard to hide a baby. She hides it for a while, but then realizes that's getting really difficult, and so she sets him in a basket, she seals it all up, and she floats him down the Nile. How many people have heard this story? Yeah. You watch maybe the animated Prince of Egypt, the old Charlton Heston movie, whatever it is, okay? Long story short, Moses is raised by an Egyptian princess. And she finds him, of course she does what every young girl does, she sees a baby and goes, aww. So she takes him and she has a Hebrew woman, coincidentally, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, it's Moses' mom, raise the child until he's a little bit older, and Moses is then raised as an Egyptian. And no matter how hard you try and contain it, God's upper story continues. Moses is an interesting character because by title, and he's Hebrew by nature. In one instance, he is living in an Egyptian palace. He is technically the adopted grandson of the Pharaoh. All he could ask for, all the riches, all the latest stuff, the latest toys, all the best food, everything that he could possibly imagine was at his beck and call. Diamond-studded rather. But then his people are in slavery, working to the bone, can't get any food, no favors, oppressed. He lives in an Egyptian palace where they worship many gods. Worship the god of the sun, god of the moon, god of the harvest, god of war, god of peace, god of women, god of men, god of squirrels, god of everything. Right? I don't know about the squirrels. Even the man who is head of the household, the Pharaoh, is worshipped as a god. And yet his people come from a heritage and follow a belief that there is one true God. So Moses has this inner division, inner conflict. And so he has a fight. He goes out and he sees an Egyptian slave master beating down one of his people. And he tries to break it up, and it gets rough, and things happen, and he accidentally kills the guy, trying to save his brother, so to speak. Now that's bad, right? We all agree murder is usually bad? Yeah. So he hides the body, which you do, right? When we do something wrong, we usually try and hide it. And not too long after that, the next day, next week, he comes out and sees two Hebrews fighting. What are you guys doing? It's bad enough. I mean, you guys can barely get food to eat, and you're arguing about stuff. And they say, well, who died and made you king? You gonna kill us too? See, things don't stay hidden for very long, do they? And so Moses passed everything that he knew. Both sides didn't want him, rejected him. He was a man without a home, without people, without a place. So he leaves. 40 years he works as a shepherd. But he reconnected with his extended family, descendants of Joseph. He begins to hear about this one true God. We saw a video clip which was from the Bible miniseries. How many people got to see the Bible miniseries last year? Yeah, it was great. You'll probably see some clips of that as we go throughout the story. And they try and stick with the spirit of the story, but they don't catch every little thing there. Moses, here's the burning bush, right? There's a picture of the burning bush on the front of the program. He hears this bush speak. How many people hear their plants talk to them? Okay, we'll have to talk later. Yeah, it's a little strange, but it says it's God. And unlike in the video clip, Moses is a little unsure of this. First off, the shrubs are talking. Secondly, God, in this bush that is burning but not really burning, says, I want you to go to Pharaoh, go back to this place where there's all this controversy, this place where you've tried to run away and escape all your problems. I want you to go back there, we're going to fix things, we're going to rescue your people, we're going to deliver them. And Moses says, me? I can't. I can't. I don't, No, see, I can't speak in public good. I don't talk good. I don't like to read out loud. I don't know how to pray correctly. Can't say the right words. I'm not a leader. I can only give so much, God. I can't do much. I don't like to work by myself. I don't like to work with others, whatever the excuse is. I don't like making decisions. I'm not creative. I can't quote the Bible. Now, admittedly, Moses didn't say all of these, but we do. Moses had all this self-doubt. God, I can't do this. And God answers back, okay, well, here. Oh, okay, well, God, I can't do this. And God says, okay, well, here. Well, God, what if this happens? What if they ask this? Okay, well, here. And it got to a point where Moses just kept asking questions, and God actually gets angry. He's like, Moses, go. It's incredible that we like to have things lined up all the way down the line, right? Oh, God, okay, you want to talk to me. All right. Well, I know you've got this whole burning bush thing, and it's awesome. But now let's talk about my conversation skills. Now, how's all that going to work? God does these miraculous things, and we go, well, that's incredible. But what about this little thing, God? God, I want to have all the details lined out before I take a step. I love getting packages. Anybody like getting mail? Yeah, I like getting mail. I've gotten a lot of bills lately, but I like getting mail. And one of the incredible things about packages is that you can track them. Has anybody ever tracked a package? Yeah? Is anybody getting tired of raising their hand? Yeah, I love tracking the package because as soon as I order it, I click on there as if it's like right outside the door. Okay, send. Fill the card, check out. All right. It's shipped. Awesome. Okay, now I jump on and I start tracking it the moment that it leaves. And I track it every step of the way. Oh, it's in Indianapolis now. Ah, it's in Kankakee. Peek out the window. That's what we do. We like tracking packages. There used to be a time when you didn't have that option, right? You order something, you send somebody a letter, and you just wait. It gets here when it gets here. It's as if there's some greater time schedule that you have no control over. And so Moses, he goes to God, and he says, all right, I'll go. And he walks over to the Pharaoh's house, and he begins this process of working with the Pharaoh. Pharaoh, let my people go. Everybody say, let my people go.
Let my people go.
Yeah. Let my people go so that they can go worship in the wilderness, he says. We just want to have a little church service. That's all. We don't want to go away. We'll come right back. We just want to go for a little church service, a little Sabbath. And Pharaoh says, no. Okay. And Moses begins all of these miraculous things, right? It starts with throwing his staff down, and it turns into a snake. Some of you are familiar with these stories, all the plagues and everything. And they're all a direct shot at an Egyptian god. Starting with the very first thing. The staff to the snake thing, right? Moses' staff turns into a snake, and then the magicians come over and they say, we can do it, and they throw theirs down, and they turn into snakes too. And Moses' staff snake eats the other staff snakes. Now we think it's cool because I'm a guy, and I think that sort of thing is cool, but it's much bigger than that. That action that happened between the snakes is saying that this God is bigger than yours. You're just average snakes. This is the king snake. And the snake is considered a divine creature in Egypt. God is pointing at all the Egyptian gods and saying, well, they're not bad, but I'm the best. Those are fake. I'm the real deal. We tell God we can't do stuff. We can't do it. We can't do it. But we don't have to be amazing. Because the one who ordered us will ensure our delivery. If we can have control over our package, if we can track it every minute, surely the God of the universe can track us. It gets down to the last plague, the 10. There were 10 plagues. The very last plague, Pharaoh keeps saying, no, I'm not going to let the people go. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. God says, okay. Well, here's what we're going to do. Every Hebrew family, I want you to slaughter a lamb, prepare a meal, take the blood, smear it over the doorpost, and the angel of death is going to come by, and every house that doesn't have blood on it, the blood of the lamb, that firstborn male in that house will die. So they do this. The angel of death comes, he goes over the land, and the Hebrew families were saved, the Egyptian families lost every firstborn male. Interesting how the very last plague, the very last shot at these supposed gods, comes against the man himself, who declares that he is a god, who earlier in this story ordered that all Hebrew boys be killed. God says, well, you tried that. Now let me show you what it really means to be a god. And Pharaoh himself is broken. He's lost his son. He has no power. This was a direct shot at him. This is a shot at his reputation, at how the people see him. If a leader is seen as weak, the people rebel. This is a big deal. And so he says, fine, get out of here. You're ruining everything. Take your people. Take whatever you want. Just go. And the people are set free. The Passover represented deliverance from slavery and deliverance from death. This is a big deal. But the lamb was necessary for deliverance. Still is. And so the people go. They go. And they get sidetracked. I don't know if you've ever had a letter. Sometimes, okay kids, way back when people wanted to communicate, they would write what are called letters. And they would put those in envelopes, which is folded pieces of paper, and then those would go from house to house. And sometimes they would get a nice stamp that says postmarked Mazon, or postmarked San Diego, or wherever. And each stop, right, you get a new postmark, right? And sometimes, if you were waiting and waiting and waiting, your mail gets lost in the shuffle. It has all sorts of postmarks on it, right? Well, the same sort of thing happens with the Israelites. You think, okay, they've been saved happily ever after. There's no side trips. There's no distractions. No postmarks. We have the same sort of thing happen, right? Our lives, maybe we start off good, we come to church, we go through classes, we do all this stuff. But then, things happen. I used to go to church, but then I was really active and involved until they said our marriage was going good until they... See, sometimes we aren't satisfied and we decide we're going to take these other routes. And it takes us an awful lot longer to get where we want to be. The Israelites think that they have escaped, that they are home free, and they come to the Red Sea. Pharaoh has realized his entire workforce is gone. And the Egyptians are so used to telling other people what to do, they don't want to do any work themselves. And so he sends all the warriors after them. They come to the Red Sea. The people look back. They see this cloud of dust and chariots headed behind them, and a whole lot of water in front of them. And even though God has done these miraculous things, has done these incredible plagues, and has saved his people, the Israelites, they ask questions. As Pharaoh approached, the Israelites looked up. There were the Egyptians marching after them. They were terrified, cried out to the Lord. They said to Moses, was it because there were no graves in Egypt that you brought us to the desert to die? What have you done to us by bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we say to you in Egypt, leave us alone? Just let us serve the Egyptians? Yeah, you remember hearing that, right? It would have been better for us to serve the Egyptians than to die in the desert. The moment things get difficult, the moment there's a bump in the road, the moment that we don't have every little detail figured out, then we go, well, wait a minute, I'm just going to go back and do that. That was easier. I had that under control. I'm just going to slide back into that habit because it was easy. I'm just going to slide back into this routine. Wouldn't it have been better just to go back to that? Moses answered the people, do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. The people are scared. And we're all scared. We all have difficulties in life. We think when we say yes to Jesus, everything's going to be butterflies and unicorns, and it isn't. Right? Life falls apart sometimes, and we don't have, we think we've got the whole plan figured out. But we're living in a lower story, in a limited perspective. And we can't see the big picture. And God says, do not be afraid. Deliverance is here. I will fight for you. You just got to be still. Follow me. Oh. That's Parker. Parker spends the majority of his time in a little plastic box called an isolette. Basically, it's temperature controlled, it's a sterile environment, keeps him safe. Now, as soon as he was born, he was put into this plastic box, essentially. And that had become his home. He was comfortable there. He knew he got fed there. He was warm and cozy. And that was good. But then one day, something traumatic happened. A wall fell down. Giant hands came in, lifted him from his safe little haven, and pulled him out into the cold, cruel world. And he was not happy. Not happy at all. He started crying. That's how he cries. It's the funniest thing ever. And he was placed onto Mom's chest. Skin to skin. They call it kangaroo care because he's kind of tucked in there. Hey, this isn't too bad. This is better, actually. This is where I belong. This is where I need to be. I don't ever want to leave this. If we cling too tightly to our limited past, we may miss out on God's deliverance to an unlimited future. Sometimes we say, no, that was comfortable. I like that. I had control over that. I understood that habit. I understood that lifestyle. I understood that relationship. God, I know you've done these incredible things in my life, and that's fantastic, but I don't think you can handle this little thing up here. I'm going to go back to what I understand. This is to do it. And we cry. Just like the Israelites. Just like Parker. That's what God hears. And all he's trying to do is bring us where we belong. Onto the chest of one who truly loves us. Not an artificial environment, but a real, living loving being. God's story doesn't end here. Yours doesn't either. You and I have been delivered, moved from where we were to the chest of the one who loves us. And just like Moses in the Hebrews, we've been called by God to be and to do something incredible in this world. Prepare for the impossible. Prepare for the amazing. Deliverance is here. We come to this communion table